It's a very powerful documentary. Thank you, Rice, for such a brilliant work. And this is the first time I saw myself, although I had very tiny contribution for overall the idea and connecting him with some Canadian content. So thank you, Rice. And I think overall message is during our Peace Days festival that peace is possible and it comes from within. And through various actors, what Rice shows us today is that everybody has their own way of understanding this journey towards peace. And it can happen, it will happen, it has to happen. And I think this is such a beautiful way of putting it. So today, we thank Rais for traveling all the way. He has a very busy schedule. He is, actually he flew from Buffalo. Um, he was up on the air almost all day yesterday. Thank you guys for coming here. We really appreciate. And Winnipeg is a small town, so we look forward to have you again here. So now we'll have a Q&A session as agreed upon. So I'll welcome you to the stage again. If you kindly answer some of the questions you might have, audience. Thank you.
Well, thank you so very much for watching the documentary. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer to that. Yes, please.
I think that's great. Right, sir. Actually, I have a couple of I don't know, questions or comments. I don't know. The first one is the guy with the tools, the last scene.
Arnold.
What's
His name is Arnold.
Oh, Arnold.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was interesting to see his tattoos, and actually he was showing them like proudly, and I could find a word in Spanish actually because I speak Spanish. The big word in his chest
Dollar. Yeah.
means pain. So I don't know if you had the chance to talk about that with him because it seemed like while talking about peace, talking about reconciliation, he proudly shows his pain. I don't know if you have any comments on that or any.
No, I did actually. As Dr. Kasar Ahmed said that, that his contribution was tiny. You saw only like few minutes, but the conversation we had was almost like 3 to 4 hours. It was extremely difficult for us to chop everyone's story into like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, timeline. It was extremely difficult, and we also went a lot of pain as well, and we felt like that maybe we didn't do proper justice to everyone because we have to squeeze in all the stories within these 85 minutes. So what you saw on the screen, maybe 3 to 5 minutes snippet, but the conversation was long. Average interview was almost 3.5 hours. So during the process of having conversation with Arno and others, we covered many things. And yes, I also asked him about that. I said, tell me more because we're talking about now peace, reconciliation, healing, but why this dollar? Why pain? And he explained, he said that I committed so much pain into others. I did not realize at that time that how I was hurting people. I felt power. It gave me the energy, the attention, the respect. But on the other hand, I was destroying lives. And at the same time, he also said that the people I was hating, I was hurting so much. I did not face the same thing from those people in return. I was respected. And that made me crazy. That how come I'm so hateful to these people? I'm causing harm to these people, but they still respect me as a human being. And that drove me crazy. And at that time, I didn't realize, but once I went through the process, then when I started understanding that what am I doing? For 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, I'm on a steroid. But when I went home, I was miserable, financially broke, no job, no loved ones, and he had a daughter. And he said in the documentary as well, and also to me personally, that I realized that I will end up either in prison or under the ground if I continue like this. So deep down, I was miserable. I was extremely sad, but I could not show that sadness in front of people. And that is the thing you will see with every extremist. They want to show the macho mentality outside, but deep down, if you sit tight with them and have a conversation, you'll see that they're broke inside. They're going to a lot of pain. There is a trauma, there is a wound inside that drove them to be an extremist, to be a hateful person. They did not choose to be like that. Something wrong happened in their life. There is a deep wound that led them. So he said that I want to remind myself that I had a painful past. I harmed a lot of people. So by this, it's a reminder that I need to do more good. So it's not out of sadness or out of depression or anything bad, this dollar sign. It's more of like that it's a constant reminder that I have to do good. I had a painful past. It's nothing hateful, but it's just something positive. And he also talked about a lot of things. I mean, if we start talking on those, it'll take a lot of time. But I would say one thing real quick that this is what he said that most of the extremists, the violent people, if you get a chance to get to know them, you will see that they have not lost their humanness. They became a product of the environment they grew up in, the people they associated with. Do they like to be like that? No. But the reality is such that they have no better way to earn respect or to get attention. And they feel safe, they feel kind of a purpose belonging, but this is a fake, this is illusion. But they have no other better ways to move on. So that once I talked with him, I learned a lot. And that also gave me a lot of courage and strength. Next time I saw someone like him, the first time I thought about that this is a human being. And his humanness was not cancelled because of his hateful act. And if we believe in that, if we act in that way towards those people, we'll be able to build more bridges. It's a good question, though. Yes, Gary.
In your documentary, you dealt with compassion, empathy, forgiveness as potentially being cures for hatred. You also pointed out that hatred seems to have the edge. Like, in other words, it gets the news, and the event becomes so dramatic. Any instruction as to how you can distribute your word a little bit deeper, how you can engage people? That seems like such a trick. And again, I wish we had an absolutely full place today. It's always hard to say, well, how do you get this out there?
Well, how do we engage more people, right? I mean, nowadays it is, we are living in a time where people don't read books. Your text message has to be 80 characters long. If you give me something to see, make it less than 1 minute, 59 seconds. After 1 minute, there's no attention spent to see something more. So this is a big challenge for us to draw people and once they're drawn into something and hold them like, engaged, it's very hard. And I feel the same challenge everywhere I go. One way to do this, I would also ask Professor Ahmed to chime in as well, that to draw interest, to show something, as also one of our speakers said, that how do we make sure that people who are coming into any event or we want them to come, there is something for them in the inclusion part, the storytelling part, that if they come and engage into something, there is something for them as well. If there's a way to make sure that it will be delivered in that way, it's not just they will come and be lectured or they'll be just sitting here for 90 minutes and watch a documentary, another documentary, or another lecture series, and then go home. It's just another program, another event. If there is something to make sure there is something to take away, there's something they can apply in their life, I think there's a good possibility, people will show up and also they will engage. And one of the reasons, we're screening this film in different communities and universities because we want to have it a two-way dialogue, not just one way, that you sit there and watch the film and then again lecture for 15 minutes and then go home. We want to make sure that you also share your comments and your thoughts and also your ideas of making this world a better place, and also find ways, uh, the other audiences, try to engage with them as well, make more connections. It's not just a documentary screening, it could be a more of like a community engagement. And this is what exactly we did in Buffalo 2 months ago. We were honored to have the invitation to screen the film on the second anniversary of the top supermarket mass shooting. And there's a sensitive date, that to go to a community where when they lost their loved ones and you screen the film, for what purpose other than just asking them to come and watch the film. So we had to be very creative. So what we did, instead of making it a screening, a documentary screening, we made it like a community engagement. And I'm sure most of you don't know that Buffalo, east side of Buffalo, is one of the top 6 most segregated community in the US. Top 6 segregated community in the US. I didn't know that until I saw the documentary. So what we did, we spread the news in such a way in both the white and the black community, and invited them, not to just screen the film, but as a community engagement ways to talk about coming together, learn about the other, talk about empathy, compassion, how to build a safer community. So all these kind of words we utilize during our marketing, and also inviting people personally through email, through Facebook message. So the people from both communities, they felt like that. It's not just for one community or the other. It's more for like everyone. And it's an opportunity to get involved, to show solidarity and support, and get beyond our bitter experiences and the segregation. And we were extremely, I would say, lucky and also, successful in this regard. There were 350 plus people came into the screening, and I was personally surprised to see at least 50-50 black and white on the audience. And after the event, after the screening, we had an engaged in a talkback session. We purposefully made the what you call uh, what do you call when the people they come for the talkback session? What is it called?
Q&A.
During the Q&A, the panelists. Yeah, sorry, I forgot the term. Purposefully, we make a big panelist. Like we invited 7 of them to ensure there's a representation from both communities. And it also helped a lot because the representation matters. When the white community saw there are people from their community on the stage, it was not a black event. When the black folks saw their people on the stage, it was not a fully black event. So we purposefully made 7 people, the panel, representation. They shared their story. They also shared their thoughts and ideas, how to, make these both communities more collaborative, more cooperative. It was a huge success. And because of that, we were invited to go back. And that's why I was there yesterday to show the film again in different part of the community. People came from all walks of life. So that was a big success, screening the film, bringing people together. And the purpose of this film is exactly doing that build bridges among people and communities, help people to find ways to heal, reconcile, and also prevent hate and violence. So I give a long answer to your question, but even this is a daunting task, but it's not impossible to do and bring people.
Thank you. That was a very thoughtful response. And I'll just note on your conflict and resilience, the last bullet is building bridges across the divides.
There we go. So with us, we're on the same page. Anything you want to add?
No, it's absolutely no. I totally agree with Rice. In today's world, I mean, it is really difficult to bring people on the under the same uh, cause, but it is doable, and we have to really keep trying with different forums, different mediums. I mean, that is what we can always do. But this one, the reason I was very interested to bring Rice here in person, because there are some documentaries like this, even including Tony's, as you know. But Rice's one is little unique in a sense that it contains a lot of stories, right? And he traveled so many places. He met with so many people, and I can vividly remember he really spoke with me over 2 hours in a very chilling condition in the top of the yeah, the just out of Banff. And I told him, can't we just sit like others in a cozy home and fireplace and speak 2 hours? He said, no, there's a beautiful place. And his director was fascinated with Banff, overlooking this one. And I was the victim because I just put on a regular suit trying to upkeep my spirit and answer his all tricky questions. And but it was like that because he wanted to, and he, of course, I mean, we all understand you cannot put everything there, everybody's, otherwise it will be 20 hours long documentary. But the important part is those stories, like, and especially remember Phil Fontaine's very poignant words. I mean, who do you forgive? He said, you forgive yourself first. That is, I think, in today. So this month, 13th September, is our Truth and Reconciliation. We celebrate in Canada. But this is something unique. I wanted to really bring him. And we both come from the same country. We were born and we are connected from that level too. So thank you once again. And if there's any other question,
Yes, ma'am.
otherwise.
I think somebody had raised their hands.
Oh,
Yes.
Brenda, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, how and when did you come to the title Pain and Peace?
Well, we went through a process, and in the beginning, the name of the documentary was Enemy, because seeing the rise of hate-fueled violence, extremism against Asian Americans, blacks, Jewish, LGBTQ, Muslims, name anyone, the people acted like each other's enemy. What led us to become one another's enemy? That was my question. And then I realized that, well, enemy is like a negative term. And, instead of giving a title with some sorts of negativity, I realized it'd be better to give something positive, something hopeful, something uplifting and inspiring, even though the stories are really, harrowing and also inspiring. So we went through a process in the beginning, and we started interviewing people under that title. But in course of time, we realized that give it more uplifting and positive. We are talking about pain. Yeah, keep pain, but if we also keep peace, so it will be more, justifiable. A good title. It took a little time, but finally we decided to go with the pain and peace, because everywhere there's a lot of pain and also a lot of peaceful stories out there. And we wanted to do more, not just one and done. So we thought of, okay, let's do the first one as at a feature length, and moving forward, we'll do, season episodic, season based, maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes in a small episodes. So that was our intention, and from that's why we realized that the first one feature length, more episodic based, change the name, give it more uplifting, more positive, but without losing the sense and then the bigger picture of this documentary.
It's balanced.
Exactly. It's also balanced that we talk about pain, you'll talk about peace, both. And my life and my lived experience is also a lot of pain is there. And I also made peace through that pain. And the journey of my way, my journey of finding peace is different from others. So back to the point that we all have pain in our life and also peace in our life. So let's talk about individual pain and peace. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I wonder, in your short time here, if you've had a chance or will have a chance, Counselor, to explore the Canadian Museum for Human Rights?
Yes, he's staying right beside that.
Well, because that National Museum housed here was based on the premise of personal stories related to human rights. It just seems to me that this documentary, the way it's been designed, should have a permanent place in that
Yeah,
museum. I don't think they would welcome it.
Absolutely, and absolutely. I'm meeting Jeremy on 25th. There is a There's an event coming up. I'll talk to you too if you're around. But and I have not seen it. This is the first time I saw it actually, because I tried to manipulate him in many ways, but he didn't agree. He said, "No, no, all these procedures." So
Well, because I wanted to come on the stage with a crying face. Because if you saw it earlier, then he'll be prepared, already covered, sheltered.
and now that so I'll talk to Jeremy and see if we can put it there because it's such a rich stories and museum, and I also wanted to put him there in Set Forks so that he has a very walking distance too. And tomorrow he has some time in the morning. I wish he could venture a little bit tomorrow in the museum. So yeah, absolutely, Linda.
Hazard, I think we've talked before, but the digital learning center, when it's
Correct.
a museum of this type of screening,
Correct.
would be just ideal.
Ideal,
So to
absolutely.
Linda's point, you'd be in the museum and have that extra powerful.
And an audience that's always been refreshed and renewed from across the country, and of course the urban audience as well. Yeah.
I think that would be huge, and also since there's also the Kennedy stories out there, as we talked about representation in our involvement, that gives us more sense that why should I be a part of this, because my story is there, our story is there, and big story matters, your representation matters. So having all these Canadians stories involved in this documentary, I think that might also inspire them to be more interested, and anything we can do, especially one this indigenous story particularly, it really touched me deeply, I would say, because I mean, when I went to Phil Fontaine's house and spent the time with him, and I wish I could share more about his journey, his story, because I'll come back in a minute, sir. His life story has a lot of similarities with mine as well. He went to boarding school, and I also went to boarding school. The games he played as a kid, I played the same game. I said, how in the world, 10,000 miles apart, as a kid, 100 years ago, maybe 80 years ago, the games he played, 8 years later, I played the same exact game in Bangladesh. And the way he spent his time in boarding school, the way he was able to survive the brutality, you know. But in my boarding school, there was no brutality. It was a military. He and I, we both went to similar military boarding school. So it was mainly we chose to go to those schools to build a better future, and those schools are the elite school in the country. So there's only difference. He was forced to go there, and I chose to go there. But the environment has a lot of similarity. The games he played, I played. So it helped us to see each other in a very there are a lot of overlaps, and the stories he shared later on, that the journey of his forgiveness, the anger he had, which led him to become an alcoholic, and then he tried to be a part of the white community, and he was rejected because he's not a white, he's a local indigenous. He said, I drank so much to be part to act like them, to talk like them, but then I felt like that, no, I'm not accepted in that group. When I came back home, I eat forks and knives and just different. So I'm not a native, I'm not an indigenous person in my home as well. So where do I go? I'm not belong to them, I'm not belong to this, my own people in between. And all the stories he shared also, that how he could not see his brothers in the same school, how he could not speak the same language with his, and staying like 4 miles away from home, couldn't go back home. Only once a year he could go home. So the trauma he went to as a child, and I could relate to that. He went to the military boarding school, 4 months, could not come home, 400 miles away from home, and staying in a boundary. We had everything inside, but still, as a kid, 12 years old, you miss your siblings, you miss your parents, right? So that kind of story, and also later on the way he talked about how he was able to move forward, how he was able to find healing and reconciliation. Those are powerful. If there is a way we can, make individual story, like 30 minutes of Phil Fontaine's story, 30 minutes of Dr. Kausar's, thoughtful comments and his, remarks, those individual stories could be also very powerful. We have also that in mind, that if there's a way we can do it, without compromising this one, because once you create a feature film like this, then you have very little less room to produce something out of the same content without compromising the integrity. And also, there are many things involved that we're going to make sure that we do not compromise, but we have the intention to produce individual segments as well. And that can go to the museum as well, because that will be an eye-opening for a lot of people, local, indigenous, and also anyone who see those individual 30 minutes documentary. And it's also powerful. One thing I would love to say that this history is also powerful because and meaningful that I'm an outsider. I'm not an indigenous. I'm not a Canadian. I'm not a local person. I'm a totally different person. But I came to depict his story just for the sake of humanity, for the sake of sharing his story, so that all the wounds in the past, all the trauma in the past that are still yet to be discovered, we should learn more about that and find ways to not to repeat the same mistake. And if we all of us do the same thing, share each other's stories, that's a powerful demonstration of our shared humanity. Because the tendency is usually we share our own story, our own pain and suffering. Sometimes we often forget there are people in our community, in our society, who has no voice, who has no representation. But if we stand up for those people, our society will be more humane and more empathetic. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. I would like to know more about your organization. What do you do? What work do you do? How do you do it? And where do you do it?
Okay.
Just with you.
Thank you. Very good question. Well, this documentary is a project of our world, of our nonprofit World Without Hates storytelling program. We do three things. One is advocacy, one is storytelling, and one is empathy education. Advocacy, we basically partner with other organizations and also like locally, nationally, and also with our federal government in the US to uphold human rights, dignity, justice. Recently we have partnered with the Office of Gun Violence Prevention at the White House. We've been working with them since last year when the office was launched by President Biden. First in American history, an office was set up in the White House called Office of Gun Violence Prevention, and we are a proud collaborator with that of that office. Matter of fact, I just got invited today to go back to the White House next the 26th to celebrate 1 year anniversary of that office. I was there last year, September 22nd, when the office was inaugurated. So now we are celebrating 1 year. So I'm heading back to White House on the 26th to celebrate. So that's advocacy. Empathy education is basically a program through which we teach empathy as a critical life skill. It's not a skill to. It's not an entity, a quality to have. It's a critical skill that we all must have. Empathy, and this program is designed for all ages. And through this program, we help teach participants how to build empathy muscle, and then how you use that empathy muscle in action on a daily basis. It's not just you learned about empathy, you know what is called empathy, because empathy is a buzzword. We all know that. But what exactly is empathy is? So we help build a muscle and teach participants how to use the muscle. Because if you're a bodybuilder, you have good body, good physical strength, but if you don't use that, when you see people are suffering, you just say, it's not my problem. You just walk away. Where's the point of having a strong body, right? So we teach empathy. We also teach how to how to use the empathy muscle. And recently, we added the virtual reality component to this program. So now we're teaching empathy using VR. That means we are able to take the participants to places, to meet people, to learn about culture, sitting exactly in your classroom or at a place. Like, for example, if you want to teach about how it feels like to live in a refugee camp, or what it feels like to live in a war-torn or in a challenged neighborhood where poverty, drug, crime, violence is flourishing, right? But you cannot take your participants to a neighborhood like that. Safety, security, for many reasons. But if there's a way we can teach our participants what it feels like to grow up in a neighborhood like that, most likely you'll become more empathetic to those people, right? And also, um, I mean, this and the other thing is that through I mean, I lost my thought on the particular point. I was about to say that, and I mean, empathy helps us to relate and to connect with one another. Without empathy, nothing matters. I mean, the reason I was able to forgive my attacker, the who tried to kill me by shooting me in the face, I saw myself in his situation, locked up in a death row for 23 and a half hours per day, 10 foot by 11 foot cell. Can you imagine yourself in a small cell, locked up for 23 and a half hours for 10 years? You psychologically, mentally, you are dead, right? Because you know that pretty soon one day you'll be hanged, you'll be executed. Now you're just waiting in this room for that day to come. So psychologically, emotionally, you are dead. You are just waiting there to die physically. It's pretty painful, right? So when I imagine myself in that situation, my upbringing, my faith helped me to launch a global campaign to try and save his life from Texas death row, right? And after being shot in the face in America, my dream country, when I received kindness, mercy, and generosity from people, I realized the power of kind word. I realized the impact of a trusted shoulder that you can lean on. I realized the power of having someone just to talk. I realized the power of someone that you can share your pain, right? A lot of kids in our society grew up without a loving, kind, and caring family. That's why the bullying takes bully takes place in our school. It's not these kids are born with bullying because something went wrong in their life, in their house, in their family. When they come to school, they lash on other kids. You heard it from Arno and others, right? So back to the point. So through this Empathy Ambassador program, we we make the participants, especially the middle school and high school kids, that's our focus group. We try to push them out of their isolation because isolation leads to ultimately to extremism, violence, all kinds of negative things, right? That's how we start slowly. Isolation, bully, anger. So this program helps and also helps the participants to be uncomfortable. We make them respectfully uncomfortable, keeping a safe space, a safe environment where they will feel comfortable to open up. I'll give a quick example at that time. We did this program a couple of years back at a school, and a short girl in seventh grade, I'm not going to use any kind of derogatory term. So she's little. And during the program, this girl opened up and she said that I want to play basketball. But because of my height, most of my classmates, they don't even look at me in the eye, they look above my head. How can I go and tell my classmates that I'm going to play basketball? So she was afraid. Self-guilt, right? She didn't have any confidence. She was feeling like kind of, sad, depressed because of her height, but she wants to play. But at that program, when she expressed herself that I want to play basketball, but because of my height, I cannot. When the event was over, the workshop was over, next day, before she even asked her classmates, the classmates came to her and said, we're going to play basketball today, come and join us. And the teacher, he said, I was crying, seeing the little girl going with the big guys and playing basketball. That was the impact of that Empathy Ambassador program. So there are many examples I can give, but that's one that because we want to invest in a future where our kids will grow up as a stronger and empathetic human being. And one of my favorite guy, his name is Frederick Douglass, a slave born, a person born into slavery, but ultimately fled from slavery, and he became a human rights activist in the northern part of USA. And one of his famous quote is, "It is easy to raise stronger children than to fix broken men." So if we could invest in our children, middle school and high school, teach them empathy, compassion, understanding, love, kindness, mercy, before they're exposed to racism, intolerance, and violence, most likely we'll have a stronger future generations. And the third thing, through our organizations, we have a storytelling program through which this documentary is one of the project, and we are also doing more individual stories like, it doesn't have to be documentary film, but individual story, because our stories have the power and the capacity to build bridges among people and communities, debunk myths and stereotypes, and also prevent violence, intolerance, and hate. And my lived experience is an example to that, because my attacker, before pulling the trigger on my face from point blank range, did not see me as a human being. He saw me as a lesser person. And he told me that I did not see you as a human being because I saw you as an enemy, a threat to my existence in my country, because people like you came to my country and tried to destroy. So I had the right to kill people like you. But in course of time, when he learned about me and he called me brother, when I talked to him over the phone before execution, he said, I love you, bro. And before he was executed, his last words were, hate is going on everywhere. It has to stop. Hate causes a lifetime of pain. This is the same human being killed people for no reason other than hate, but through transformation that he went through, he was able to see me as a human being, as his brother. And he said that this world needs more human rights, more peace, and more race beyond. It's his word. So through our organization, War Without Hate, we our focus is to prevent hate and violence, the cycle of hate and violence through empathy education and storytelling. And this documentary came from there. Yes, sir.
My question is, how do you integrate that kind of education optimally in the American and Canadian to start the school system? Because that is the challenge. You say that you're actually engaging within schools through your nonprofit organization. How well accepted are you being within the American school system with your program? And what would help if it expanded and scaled up to something significant?
Well, that's a very good question. You'll also chime in, please. First of all, it's not easy. It's not easy, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. Anything is not easy, that means there is a great reward to that. So what we did, last 2 years, we took little time to enhance the program. We launched this program, Empathy Ambassador program, back in 2015. And we took this program to various schools from Boston to Seattle. And it was well accepted, well received. But the challenge we faced was funding. Because once the schools and other organizations came to us, and when they understood that there was a cost associated with this kind of program, most of the schools are public schools, and funding is not really there to have this kind of program in their school. So the question is, okay, if our organization give this program as a scholarship, as a donation, as a free to the school, then the nonprofit has to have the proper resource and support to exist and also continue this program. So now the problem is, it's like a chicken and egg situation. Once you go to the funder says, show me the data, the impact, then I will give you fund. Okay, once I go to the school says, okay, give us this program for free, then we'll give you the access. Funder says, show me the impact, the school says, give me the program. So despite this kind of quagmire situation, we were able to launch several programs. We did a lot of workshops. We were able to collect data. And then we took little time last 2 years. I'm giving a long answer, there's a reason behind that. The last 2 years, we changed our approach. Before, the program was for 3 days. And we realized to commit for 3 days, long commitment. It's a really big commitment. Leaving your students for 3 days for a program. So we reevaluated. We squeezed the program without compromising the quality. And now we are able to offer the same program instead of 3 days in 1 day. And once we did the enhancement, and also we hired a really very good curriculum developer who has a PhD in this kind of field, came on board, we got some funding, we did the program enhancement, and then during the COVID, I was thinking, who knows how long we'll be stuck in our home? And how can we utilize this kind of time to reaching out to people wherever they are? And the VR came into my head because I also work in IT. So wearing my IT hat, I thought there has to be has some sort of technological, like collaboration or involvement to teach people wherever they are. So VR came into my mind and did some research, and finally we added virtual reality into this program. And when I shared my thoughts and ideas in the program overview with Facebook, Meta, and they loved the idea. And we are honored to have received 38 pairs of VR goggles from Meta, from Facebook, because now we're teaching human beings with the help of machine, human quality. So short answer is we have enhanced the program, reorganized, added virtual reality, and now we are talking about scaling out. So now we are reaching out to a lot of funders and donors and telling them that we want this program to go to every community, every school for free. We just need support that will help us sustain and that will help us to deliver all these, to all these schools. So we are in discussion right now with proper funding and proper resource. We believe that by beginning of next year, first quarter of 2025, we'll be able to launch this to deliver this program in many schools all over America. And I just happened to have a conversation yesterday in Buffalo with one of the big government officials in New York who are very much interested to support this program and the funding as well. Because once they saw the trailer, once they saw some of the data and the impact, I showed to them, and then the recent video as well, that what this program looks like, I saw that their jaw dropped. And if you have the technical person here, is it gone or dead?
Nice.
I would say if you have time, please visit World Without Hate. Would you be able to go to a site?
Website. World Without
It's just 59
Hate.
seconds. I just want to give an idea that what it looks like. It's called worldwithouthate.org.
While he's doing that, I would urge you to form a relationship, the Global Campaign for Peace Education and UNESCO, Associated Schools Network Project at UNESCO generally, because together, 1974 principles for peace education globally were replaced in 2023 with the support of 194 countries, member countries of UNESCO, okay? A new set of principles, which I think you'd like.
Absolutely.
And would value greatly from your curricula and your pedagogical methodology.
Great idea. I will definitely do that.
Good.
Thank you for that. If you go to program page, if you click on that menu on the left side, or you can click on the program and projects and Empathy Ambassador. And all the way down, you'll see there is a short video. If you go down, further down. Yes, if you could play that video on full screen, please.
Welcome to the Empathy Ambassadors Program, an exciting initiative designed to empower students with the critical life skill of empathy. In a world increasingly marked by intolerance, racism, and violence, empathy has never been more crucial.
I didn't feel comfortable just doing everything that we had to do there, but that was the purpose, to get us comfortable.
Our program helps students develop empathy through interactive workshops, role-playing, and guided discussions.
I got to meet new people that I never seen before. They let you get in the groups, you let them in the group, you talk to them.
For all the coaches, I'll probably just like sit to the side of where work is going to do.
I've always thought like I want to be one of the kids who are problem, and so I thought about like all these things that have a problem, like we could actually make a difference in helping other kids.
By fostering empathy, we help students build stronger relationships, prepare for future success, and cultivate a more inclusive school culture. Join us in making a lasting impact on our children's lives. Let's raise a generation of kind, caring, and empathetic individuals. Visit our website worldwithouthate.org to learn more and sign up. Empathy Ambassadors Program, building bridges, fostering compassion.
What might cause the governments to invest in their education systems to support this kind of thing? Do you know Paul K. Chappelle and Peace Literacy Institute in the U.S.? Another connection you should make. He's out of now Oregon, Portland, Oregon area.
All right. I mean, are you in touch with him? Or if you know him?
Kauser can push a touch. Kauser knows him as well.
Yeah, he's in.
He, like you, has come to Winnipeg.
Yeah, he came to Winnipeg many times.
Influenced our entire province of Manitoba education system. He was heard by all the consultants, education consultants in the province of Manitoba, with this concept about peace literacy education in our school system. So he's now, through his institute, like you, struggling to get the support to do what the school systems should be doing,
Right.
paid by taxpayers.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Thank you for the suggestion. I truly appreciate that. I'll get more info from Carl. Sorry, if you need to add anything.
No, absolutely. No, I mean, these are all related to education support. And Paul Keshapal's, he has some unique, and one of the thing we have common is he's an ex-Marine from US. So he served quite a bit in US military, then retired and started his not-for-profit.
retired at age 29 as a captain from the U.S. Army after graduating from West Point. So he's like anyone that's been in the military and been involved in any activity in violence. He is one of the greatest committed peacemakers.
Looks like a great guy.
Peace literacy. Excellent. I don't think we have any more questions, but let's give another round of applause for Rais. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And from our side, we look forward working with him in more collaborative way. And as I said, I just saw it myself for the first time. Linda's suggestion is excellent. And on 18th anyway, Linda and I and many of you would be there with us. So we'll talk about it and see how we can approach Museum Authority to have it, because I think it's such a wonderful piece of work, should be curated there for in perpetuity, right? Thank you, folks, those who have been with us this morning. And our best hope is a just world, as I was sitting with MCIC a day before yesterday with Gary. And this is such a couple of powerful words, just world. And I think Rice, with his humble efforts, he's trying to do his best. And moving forward, we would also like to explain and continue our work with empathy building, and through our counter radicalization project that we are running, and we are going to complete it by next month. We would like to showcase what we can do. And I think empathy, this is such a huge loaded word that needs to be more understood in Canadian context, I think widely and deeply. So with these words, I would like to conclude today's session, and thanks for coming once again. And let's build an empathetic world together. And this journey is for all of us. Thank you.